It's No Gifts, Please, the podcast by the bear with no real gifts and a whole lot of gumption. I'm Jenny Anchondo, along with Steve, who we have basically kidnapped for the night, and his famous husband, Doug, who we talk about all the time.
Hello.
And we talk about bringing him in. And when Steve told me that he could not podcast on Saturday night for understandable reasons, I said, I bet I could get Doug to bring him in. So this is your happy birthday podcast. It is a Saturday night at 8 o'clock. All three of us have had insane work weeks, but yet here we are because, like I said to Steve, when you're turning 50 and you look this good and life is this good and life is this amazing, it needs to be celebrated. It needs to be documented and commemorated. So here we are. Cheers to 50 years.
I mean, with a special guest star. I mean, who I never thought would be sitting in this chair next to me.
Well, we have had some, it's fun because I've gotten to know Doug a little bit better over the course of
the last week.
The last week here. Well, just kind of trying to come up with this. And Heath and I were talking about, like, what can I do? What could be special? And it was like, nothing was working out with the schedule. And then when I asked you to record on Saturday, it was like, can you do Saturday night again after the most chaotic week? I was just, he was like, yeah, no, Saturday night. We don't even need to record. We have like 100 episodes already batched. So I was like, well, let's just figure this out. And guess who else we have? You
are joking.
So apparently you've been talking about us a lot on your podcast.
Wait, where are you guys?
We can't hear them.
We can't hear them.
But we will, I'm sure. Spider's working on it. So if you guys...
Okay, first of all, Doug was like, hey, date night, Saturday. I was like, okay. And it's funny, I was at a birthday party today. And
you and these birthday parties.
Oh my gosh. I was at the right one, luckily. And one of the moms was like, oh, what are you doing for the rest of the night? I said, oh, we have date night tonight. She said, what are you doing? I said, actually, my husband's planning it. And she was like, oh, how nice that must be. Like, as the wife, like I always am the, I'm the planner. And I was like, yeah, it's a little unusual that, but I said, it's been, as you know, and we both know, it's been insane. And then we went to dinner, which was lovely. And then I'm like sleeping at the dinner table, like yawning. And he's like, maybe we should have dessert. And I was like, oh, okay.
Like dragging it out. Like you're thinking I could get home and get in bed in an orderly time.
Like the kids are at my mother-in-law's. So like I could like get an hour nap in here. And I'm like, okay, Mr. Gym workout at 4:00 in the morning, ordering dessert. Like, so weird, right?
Well, I had to lure him with dinner because there's no way I'm going to plan something at 8 p.m. So I had to come up with some rules. So
I actually almost sent you a meme. I saw this funny meme, and it was like, because I'm the same way. Like going someplace at 8, it's like a hard pass. Like absolutely not. And it was like once you hit a certain age, like if something starts at 8, it's just an immediate no. It doesn't matter what it could be. But we also have to mention that we're not here at 8. We have some special guests that are actually showing up at 9:00 p.m. Their time.
Yes.
Yes. No, don't worry. We're not staying here podcasting for an hour. No, we're getting out in 30 minutes here. Steve's wonderful parents are actually joining us on Zoom.
Hi there.
Hi.
Where are you? Is that...
At home.
Why
it's been a while since you've been home.
Okay. Oh, well, you're. I didn't recognize. I see the reflection of the dining room, and I'm like, where? Yeah. You're in the living room. Okay, I gotcha.
So
Hi, Johnny.
You guys, we did it. Okay, look, the hardest part is over.
Thank you so much.
I've never on TV before.
We all made it the hard, and thank you both for, of course, you agreed to do this. We've talked so many times about having really all three of you on, and we thought it would be fun to do a celebratory 50th birthday podcast to talk about Steve and just like rewind back and share some memories of him. So who wants to go first, Frank and Ro? Who wants to, the story I want to hear is really like, what was Steve like as a little boy? Take us back to like little boy Steve.
Well, Steve was always very creative, always building things, always very interested in everything, really. I have to say that he loved to perform always from a little boy. He performed in school plays, from grammar school all the way through college. He used to come to work with me to watch me choreograph and then do that choreography in his play, but it used to be backwards because he was seeing it from the audience.
Because it was mirrored.
Yes. Kindergarten, that was tough, Steve.
Oh,
for both of us, the first day was tough.
Oh my gosh, the teacher literally picked him up and put him over her shoulder to take him into school because he didn't want to leave me. Oh.
So funny story, that same teacher a million years later showed up at when I was inducted into my high school's Hall of Fame. She showed up at the ceremony.
Carrying you in.
But, well, and of course, at the time, I remember as a 5-year-old thinking she was at least 100. So, because she was a teacher. So to see her show up, I was like, oh my gosh, how crazy. Had she not carried me in that day, then none of that would have ever happened. My mother was like being consoled by the other mothers. And it was a whole scene.
But don't you relate now?
Steve was one of the creators of his high school Hall of Fame and then became the youngest person ever to be inducted into it.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Really?
How so? So he just said, like, I think we should talk about famous people and like that I am.
In the hope one day that I might become one. No, I was on a committee that the school came up with the idea, the district came up with the idea to start honoring past graduates. And because I was in a leadership role when I think it was a senior, I was class president. I think that's why I was asked to be on the committee that created the Hall of Fame. So, and then however many years later, I was called to say, hey, we'd like you you're being nominated for induction as an adult.
That is
a full circle moment.
That's really
actually
quite special.
Yeah. And let me tell you that every teacher of his was there. To see him.
It was a packed house. People showed up. It was really touching.
Did you always know he was going to do something like in the public eye, performing or otherwise?
Well, I'm glad that he changed his mind from a very young age because he wanted to be a clown. So I'm glad that passed.
Now he has a son who has the same.
Now he has the same aspirations as he does. Yeah. Steve's always been, everything that he does is 120%, always. When he was younger, when he was applying to college, he was not as on time with things, shall we say. I mean, when
we were making videos the night before the application was due, so we could FedEx it, yes.
Yep. But he got into his school as a theater major, then decided to switch, right, Steve, to journalism.
Yeah.
Yep.
There were a few other stops along the way to philosophy, English, underwater basket weaving.
So videos. So you were sending in videos for your
VHS. Well, so because I believe that I tried to get in. I tried to get in early decision and didn't. And then applied like under their special talent program, which I said, well, we may as well send in a video as well, which was a big deal because this is many,
like the U.S. had
30
a video
plus
camera.
years ago, A, and B, that you could figure out how to edit things together. Like it wasn't like you just had an iPhone and an app and like editing equipment. I mean, nobody had that kind of stuff. So
we are talking about almost a half a century.
Oh God!
Oh my God! Oh my gosh! Do you ever watch him now? Do you get online, watch his videos and things like that? And if so, what do you think of it when you're like, oh my gosh, that's our little boy, on TV or creating his own show or really like at the helm of this new show? What does that feel like?
My heart is just smiling the whole time. It's really amazing to see his dreams come true, and for us to be able to witness that. Steve gave I'm going to cry. He gave us one of his Emmys. He felt that we deserved it as much as he did, and that was such a touching sentiment. Thank you so much. It's in our den, and we look at it all the time. It's amazing. And he's won 11? Yes. Am I right? Yeah.
He kept the other 10.
I kept the other 10.
Well, and you'd think after 10 that I would get one, but I still
in line. We'll get to your interview in a moment and see if you earn one here.
Seriously, right? I mean, you give him the mic, and now all of a sudden he's Chatty Cathy.
That's right.
It is true though, because something like that. I mean, it does take family support to just have the wherewithal to go through a lot of what you do, because it's like you don't just pop up one day and have an Emmy, right? It's like there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, and really you three are kind of privy to that, to the emotional consequences of being in this type of profession.
Yeah. Well, and also the support, right? I mean, my parents, they paid for my education gladly, and they understood that I, wanted to take a little time off. We went to grad school, and they, we paid for it when I got back. And then, you know how it is. You go to your first market and you're making $12,000 a year with a master's degree, and you can't afford food or rent or car insurance or a car, and they supported me. I mean, when I'm go right ahead.
Continue.
Until he met his sugar daddy.
Until I got to the 7th largest market.
No, I mean, listen, even into the time, I remember when we bought our second home, and they gave us a gift because they knew that it was going to be tight for us to do that. So they've always been incredibly supportive. So yes, they absolutely deserve that just as much as I did, because just like the kindergarten teacher who carried me in over her shoulder, I mean, it just would not have been possible. It just wouldn't,
Well, I think that your husband has a lot to do with this as well.
We're going to get to him in a minute.
What I'm curious to hear from both of you. I've been able to see you just kind of from afar as grandparents, and we've talked before on the show about that being like a dream of like, again, I'm just thinking of like 50 years and these monumental things that have happened. And it was something that I remember Steve said growing up. He was like, I don't know if that's going to happen, to have children and stuff. What has it been like to be grandparents to the boys?
Well, our older grandchildren, 2 girls, they're in their 20s. So to do it all over again was the best gift ever. It's a little more difficult at so many years later, especially with boys. But it's amazing to see both of them. They're such great dads. They're really fabulous dads and fabulous people, and have a wonderful, beautiful family. Those boys are we were in Dallas once a month to see them. We wanted them to be as much a part of our lives as our granddaughters were, who live on Long Island with us. And they've been so kind as we now stay at their house. Because the best part is waking up in the morning and seeing those boys. Unfortunately, the big boys don't get as much attention anymore as the little boys. Just being honest.
Steve gave us a lot of very proud moments in our lives, and now we're getting that from our grandsons as well as our granddaughters. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sweet comment.
Yep.
Except for that time when I gouged a scrape into the den floor when you went on
a perfect circle.
Perfect circle.
I wasn't going to mention the Honda, but that's okay.
I wasn't a really good driver.
Was Steve ever a rascal? Like, do we have any? What kind of dirt do we have on Steve? I would like to get that in here as well. We've given some compliments. Maybe do like a compliment sandwich. Was he ever getting in trouble when he was little?
Constantly.
Never. Well, yes.
Constantly. Yes.
Well, I remember when you used to forget your keys and I was working, and you used to climb up the tree in the backyard to
break into the house.
The window. Yes, yeah. He broke into the house.
So resourceful is the word you're looking for, I believe.
That's it.
Resourceful.
That's it.
And what was like the punishment? What was the punishment train? Because he obviously turned out great. So I'm just kind of like doing my own research.
Was he punished? I don't think
What?
So.
Are you joking me?
I don't remember.
I remember I'd done something terrible. But the biggest deal for me as a kid was in elementary school. When you got to the 6th grade, you got to be in the 6th grade play. And it was a musical.
Oh, God.
And it was the biggest deal.
Hudson.
I was so looking forward to it. And I had done something, who the hell knows? And by the way, you're asking, I used to do things like, when I was a kid, I had a smoke detector in my room or smoke alarm in my room because my bedroom window, which was on the second floor, right directly below it was a giant bucket or barrel of water. So I used to light things on fire and drop them into the bucket to see if they would,
fireworks show.
As a boy does, right? And then my parents installed a smoke.
No.
Yes. As you do. But whatever it was I was doing, I remember the consequence was they were like, you can't be in the play. And I was like, I mean, it was.
And did you hold to that?
They did not. They did
not. And he got a standing ovation for his performance.
He did.
Very proud. Yes,
yes he did.
So he was just a natural performer. I mean, some people come about it later, or they learn it like in school or something.
Well, but again, I mean, my mom's career. I mean, come on,
for sure.
I mean, by the way, this, everything he does is 150% and he's a natural performer. I mean, that's apparently genetic. I mean, that's my mom, right?
Yeah.
So, and my dad as well. He's a hard worker.
Who was the disciplinarian? Like who came down on you?
I have to say there was a lot of wait till your father gets home stuff. Now, what happened when that happened? I mean, who, knows? But I was a mischievous kid. I was a liar when I was a kid. I would lie even when the truth was easier all the time as a kid, all the time. And I was figuring out who I was, right? Yeah. Like everybody else seemed to have a word for what I was and I didn't. And that was a weird place to be as a kid. But I will say that both of my parents have always been incredibly supportive, and it was also a different time back then, right? Like, I mean, you do the best you can with what you have to work with, at the time. And I feel like we, through that process, all grew incredibly close, to one another, which has been amazing.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. An interesting perspective on the truth telling and making sense of life.
Yeah.
Which you figured out by now.
Well, hopefully. I mean, I guess that's in Doug's part of the interview.
We'll get to Doug's part. I want to hear from both of you, just like I know it'll be an early birthday wish now, but then we'll release this, on the birthday, or Steve will have to, because I don't know how. So Steve will have to do that, for somebody else to do that part, but we'll put it on his birthday. But what's a birthday wish that you both would like to give to Steve?
Birthday wish. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Let's see. Well, first and foremost, health and happiness. I hope that he realizes what he is and what he is still going to accomplish, I'm sure. And we wish him the best. Frankie?
I hope you have the opportunity to get as much pride and joy from your sons as we have from ours.
Oh, stop it. Okay. All who are watching the video can see that they're making Steve tear up, and myself too. So that is incredibly sweet. You guys are obviously amazing parents. I will wrap up this portion, but you can feel free to stick around for the Doug portion and pipe in whenever you want. I've got to know who the cooking comes from. Like where are the Italian recipes coming from? Mom, Dad, Frank Rowe, who is it? Is it both?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes. Or either one. Who's bringing this good food? Like, where genetically, where's this coming from?
I think when the children were small, when Steve and his sister were very young, there were always homemade meals, and I used to cook every night. Once they were out of the house in college, not so much. Frank has done a lot of the cooking, I have to say.
Okay, I love that.
I love when Steve would ask me for recipes. That's great. We were in Dallas one time making sauce for the first time, remember?
Yeah, that was great. We have to do it again.
Yep, absolutely. So Steve is a very traditional. He likes the history. He delves very deeply into the history of our family, and he's very interested. I remember two houses ago, maybe one house, there were both you and Doug looked up who lived there before and what their history was, and they actually got in touch with the woman that lived there, and she actually got married in the house. Am I remembering this?
Doug did all that legwork.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, Steve has his great-grandfather's ice tongs on display in his house. And that's kind of a symbol of our heritage and what got us to this country and what started our family.
Yep.
It's beautiful. And I think that you both probably instilled that in him. Frank and Ro, you are both incredible. And I want you to stay here in case you need to like come in and break up any fights, any disagreements, any sort of like he said sort of situation. But thank you for agreeing to come on and do this, because it was just like kind of this fun, chaotic last minute situation.
Well, and now it's been the nicest surprise. I have to say, my disposition 20 minutes ago was like, please just get me home. Can we just go to why are you taking a long way home?
Why are we in the Starbucks
what are
parking
we doing?
lot?
But this has been such a treat. So thank you.
Doug's in the hot seat now.
Doug's in the hot seat. You guys speak right into the mic.
Doug's in the hot seat. Okay, like when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh my gosh, I could probably do this interview for like 5 hours with all three of you. So many questions. But I'm going back. I want to hear like the story of how you two met. From Doug's perspective.
No, from your perspective.
So we were both in Greensboro, North Carolina at the time. And we had met through friends. So Steve, when Steve enters a room, everybody notices. So
for sure.
I'd been there for a little while. Steve showed up probably 9 months later, and we were at a bar, and he walked in, and of course, everybody wants to know who's that guy. So we may have talked at some point, but we didn't really continue to talk until later. And so what was it? We went to the Blue Hour before and then met back in the parking lot and happened to exchange numbers, or I forget exactly that.
Do you really forget?
Who asked for whose number though? Like these are the details. Like who made
Are
the
these details not coming to your mind, or are you just avoiding saying them? Do you really know?
I could tell Doug he could have anything off limits, and he didn't give me anything. Just for the record, I was like, if anything's off limits, let me know.
As you're talking about the High School Hall of Fame, you're talking about your teacher. I could not name a single teacher.
I could name every single teacher I've ever had in elementary school.
Barely
every
name
one of
the
them.
school. Like
every one of them. I could draw you a picture of each one.
Oh my God.
Too.
Everyone.
That's insane.
Yeah, I can tell you where the classroom was in the building, like what floor, what hallway. Yeah. You and I, when I moved to North Carolina, of course, had seen you, and I thought you were just devastatingly handsome, and you had the most beautiful smile, and we did not date. I was kind of dating somebody else at the time.
Just the one?
Oh, here we go. So we do
Steve
remember.
Didn't say anything's off limits.
Okay. And then we were out in Winston-Salem at the Odyssey, and I saw you in the parking lot and went over and introduced myself to you. Do you remember that?
Yes, because I had left because we went back to somebody's house who happened to be across the street, and we're hanging out. And I was like, hey, I want to go back and talk to you. And then that's when we showed back into the parking lot to go back in, and you were coming out.
For me?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, of course you didn't know that.
Oh, look at us. We're uncovering new.
You're not remembering the details.
Territory.
Well, I didn't know what. I just thought we happened to run into each other in the parking lot. I didn't realize that you would come back specifically to see me.
No, we were coming back. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, cute. Okay, so then
well, you asked about phone numbers. So it wasn't until New Year's Eve that finally I had some friends of mine in town who I knew from St. Louis, and I was like, oh, there's that guy, and they're like, you should. And I was like, no. And my friend Clay went over to Doug and was like, you should date my friend Noviello. And Doug was like, isn't he dating somebody? And Clay's like, that's Rocky. Like, don't worry about that.
Oh, sorry, Rocky.
So we exchanged numbers, and I wrote my phone number down on a cocktail napkin like multiple times. And then Doug gave me his phone number, which turned out to be the number to like the modem or the fax machine at his house.
Stop. Wait.
Which was my fax machine.
I guess I wanted to fax you something.
So were you trying to, you didn't want him to call you?
Well, I just didn't want to give it my cell phone number,
It seemed very personal at the time.
Okay.
At that time, it was probably pager. I was like,
Oh my gosh, he was worried. Were you worried he might just hit you up too frequently, or what?
I wasn't, I don't know.
Sober. He wasn't sober.
Okay,
is the word.
that is fair.
But full circle moment. So that same friend, Clay, officiated our wedding years later. Yeah,
well,
we asked him to officiate our
sealing
wedding.
the deal on multiple levels.
Yeah.
Right.
So then when did you know that it was like, okay, this is serious. I think I might want to be with him forever.
No, these are going to be two different answers. For me, it was probably like 5 months in.
Really?
Right.
What was the exact moment? What was I wearing? How was the light hitting my eyes?
5 months in, but then you guys didn't get, well, I mean, then you obviously became serious. What about for you, Steve? It was later?
No, it was, I remember the first time you told me you loved me, we were in your car, or truck, which by the way, so Doug
drove a truck.
Right. So like I was a kid from Long Island.
You were so excited.
Kid from Long Island. And like we were in North Carolina and I was telling one of my, you were coming to meet me at the station for lunch and we were going to go to lunch. And I was telling
at the TV station.
Yeah, one of the girls that I worked with, I was like, oh, this guy that I'm dating, but I was like, he drives this big red truck and blah, blah. And then he pulls up in this Ford Ranger and she goes, oh, honey, that's not a big old truck. That's a Ford Ranger. I was like, well, where I'm from, that's a big truck. Anything with a bed in it. I mean,
like he has a vehicle.
There's an open space in the back where you could put, I don't know, dirt bikes or a table or something. I don't know.
Dirt bikes.
I mean, that's,
Doug and his dirt bikes.
And right. And then we honestly, we only dated for a year-ish, a year and a half. I remember I had the interview in Dallas. We started, our first date was January 2nd, January 5th, 2002, was our first date. And then the following April.
Right.
Yeah. On his birthday was my interview in Dallas. And then I found out in August that I got the job.
That sounds about right. You were waiting for 4 months.
Right. I was waiting for 4 months. Right. So we decided to move in together because I was like, hey, I'm moving and I would love for you to come with me. But why don't we try like living together here? Luckily, Doug's job at the time was very transferable. So we were able to...
Stop. I think I know what it was.
What was it?
Was I delivering pizzas yet? Or had I not made it up?
I can't. It was the Italian food. He's like, I love people who can make Italian food.
Doing the door-to-doors vacuum
like,
sales.
they have Domino's in Dallas as well, apparently.
What?
So, yeah. So, like, why don't you come with me?
Oh my God.
And he did.
Both of my brothers worked at Domino's as well. Okay, so you did, but I mean that's a big move to like move across the country with somebody.
Yeah,
right.
Did you think at that point, okay, we're getting married?
No, not at all.
Oh my gosh,
not at all.
I'm so glad I asked this.
But again, like keep in mind this is early 2000s, so that's not even.
That's like not a thing.
Even a realm.
Right? People don't get married.
Right.
That's right.
Like, why would you even dream about that?
Yeah,
it's not it's not an option.
You weren't thinking about kids.
God,
you weren't thinking about marriage. You were just like, sure, let's transfer that job to Dallas.
Yeah,
right.
And continue on. Okay, so now, how long have you guys been married?
10 years.
Well, married 10 years, yes.
Yeah,
but together.
Right.
How many?
20, whatever.
22.
22?
22 years.
23?
Yeah.
My natural inclination is to ask, like, what's the best thing about being married to him and the worst thing? But since it's a birthday podcast, we're not doing the worst thing. We're only doing the best. So what's the best thing about being married to
They may
Steve?
be the same. I don't know. He might have the same answer for both. What is the best thing about being married to me?
So the thing about Steve is that he is, he's kind of the life of the party. I mean, he's the guy that everybody wants to be around. And it's kind of incredible that I get to be that person that shares a life with him. He really is the sweetest guy. Everything that you see about him, his public persona is genuine, and he really is this sweet guy who's a little bit shy. Sometimes you wouldn't expect that, and very smart, very funny. He's always making us laugh. So, and just the sweetest guy with our kids. I am the one who loses my temper and yells more than I want to, and has less patience. But he's incredibly patient with our care, and he knows every one of the kids' names and every one of the parents' names. Mm-hmm. And like even today, I show up at a party, I'm like, who is who? I don't know the kid or the parents or where. What are we doing?
He texted me.
He was like, I have their home address. Mom does this. Dad works here.
He texted me. He was like, is this kid in Hudson's class? I was like, oh no, I'm friends with the mom. That's why we got invited.
Yeah. So on the way to school, I'm trying to make small talk with my youngest, and I'm like, hey, so tell me about this kid. Like, do you sit next to him in class? And he was like, I don't know this guy. I'm like, what? Where are we going to this party?
And did we get them a Target gift card?
No, this was a gift. This was a physical gift. This one.
Oh my gosh! You must really like the mom.
Well, it was the same story from the.
Yeah. Okay.
They sent two.
Okay, gotcha. That whole.
I was at a different birthday party with Jacob, which was a gift card.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yes. And then tomorrow we have a birthday party, which will also be a gift card.
You guys just have a stash of the gift cards?
We really should. Actually, Doug is really good about. He's got like a file folder of like birthday, like any occasion. You're like, oh, what? Somebody lost a leg? Doug's like, what? I got a card for that. Here you go.
That's amazing.
I will say so. That's. Other than him being incredibly loyal and handsome and kind and fantastic. Doug is one of the most organized people you will ever meet in your entire life. Like I can be like, hey, 6 years ago, I took a light bulb out of a lamp and I put it on the counter. Do you know where that is? And he'll be like, go in the garage, walk 4 paces, make a left, third shelf down. There's a clear box. Open up the clear box in the second row under the top one on the right-hand side. You'll see it and it'll be there. That's where it is.
What a great quality.
It gets really annoying sometimes.
Yeah, like you found the light bulb.
But the light bulb, yeah, for sure.
No, that's fantastic.
But there's that's that ADHD. That's the positive side.
No, I'm loving it. So, Doug, when you think about, it's interesting to hear because, we've talked about this a little bit, just like that whole like, well, I didn't know I was going to get married. To your point, well, that wasn't even a thing when you moved here. But now to see Steve as a dad. What is that like? Obviously, there's the tough parts to your marriage, and we all know that. Right. But we don't have to focus on that today. What's it like to see him as a dad, day in, day out, raising your boys, making an impression on them, etc.?
So we really had an incredible life. I remember we started to talk about having kids, and it was really, I was very much so in the camp that it's like we have a really good life. Like, why would we risk that to gamble on some kids, and so when we actually went through it, it's just this different level. You kind of level up on these love levels, and that's what it is with him. Watching him with our kids, it's like you just kind of enter this new realm of love that you didn't know existed before, because you were in this, I wouldn't say lesser, but a different kind of love before. He really is just the most incredible person to share a life with. and I see other people that talk about their spouses and their loved ones, and it's like, and sure, everybody has pluses and minuses, but I genuinely think that it's like I really ended up with not only somebody who is fun and funny and somebody that I love living life with, but also somebody who's just kind and genuine and has a drive about him that is unstoppable. It really is just an incredible journey to be on with him together.
You guys are so cute.
So sweet.
Oh,
when's your 50th? When's your husband coming in here?
A very long ways away. Thank you very much.
You are the baby, right?
Yeah, of my family. I'm the oldest, but I'm not 50.
No.
Listen, having Gemma made me feel like I was like 110. That 1 year aged me 110 years, but yes. You guys are so cute. This is so special. Are you looking forward to your actual birthday? I want to hear thoughts from you, Steve, on like the becoming 50, like, here you are. You're about to have a big party too.
Yeah, I'm not really concerned about the number. 50, it's 50, right? My grandmother used to say there's only one alternative to getting older. So, and I certainly don't want that. I think honestly, and not to get morbid here, but like the only part about it that gives me pause is that, we had kids later in life, and the idea that as I age, the number of things that I might miss out on that they do in their lives with their children gets reduced because I might not be here for it. So that's the only part of it that I don't love. But it is It's a life beyond what I could have wished for. It really is.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh.
You guys are so good. You pulled it off. I can't believe my parents are here. That's crazy.
They were so down. Even when I was like, oh, we were going to do one time and we need to do it a little bit later. It's going to be like really late your time. And it's a Saturday.
Oh my God. Are you kidding? They're up to like they're going to watch something on TV after this. I'm sure.
Well, I'm going to coordinate things with the three of them. I mean, Steve, you can come like if you want to or not. But like the three of us I've enjoyed communicating with them. All three respond quickly, on time, prompt, show up. I'm like, these are my people.
What? Doug responds quickly?
That's right.
Yeah. Wait, does he not respond quickly?
I'm gonna program my phone number under your name in his phone.
He was incredible. I was like, wow, I want him to be like a coworker. Like I'm like so. It is just so nice. I mean, I want to be coworkers with Frank and Roe too because I love they show up. They're on Zoom. They're ready to rock.
Ready to go.
You know, nothing was off limits, which is my favorite answer. No, nothing's off limits. So it was really fun to coordinate. And I think that hopefully it feels like just proof of how beloved you are and how much the people in your life are, just surrounding you and lifting you up on your special night.
I'm truly touched that you would even think of and then take the time to kind of orchestrate something like this. It really is incredibly touching, and I appreciate you.
Well, cheers to you and happy
cheers
birthday.
To 50. Here we go.
Cheers to 50, and I hope everybody enjoyed our kidnapping of Steve for his birthday.
I mean, look, and Doug I don't think I've seen Doug with his eyes open at this hour in a very long time.
He might have a later Sunday work.
I might have to drive home.
I was going to say I might have to drive home.
That's okay. It's worth it. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Do you want to do the sign off or do we just say goodbye?
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks for joining us for our very special edition, Steve's 50th birthday podcast. You can find us everywhere on your favorite podcast platform. We've got a new episode that releases every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. Click like, click subscribe.
You're so good.
And if you do nothing else today, go find yourself your friend you don't need to clean the house for. We'll see you next time.
Gosh.